Hi guys. So today I'm going to show you an exercise that I give. I can't actually even tell you how many times I give this exercise, both to patients as well as use myself in my own training, as well as give my clients when I'm coaching at the gym. It's an exercise that is meant to either activate the glute med and min, so the glutes that we have on either side of our hips. It's used to either activate it if we're about to train, and if we already know that we've had an issue with our glutes before, or if we know that we're gonna be doing a bunch of deadlifts or squats or lunges or anything really kind of lower body heavy, then it's really a really good exercise to do prior to any kind of training. But it's also used, or I use it, to help patients strengthen glutes that may be less active or actually full out weak. And it's an exercise that I give in place of what most physios or trainers would give a clamshell for. So if you've had an injury before with your hips or your back or your knees or your ankles, and your trainer or physio gave you clamshells, this is the exercise that I give in place of that, because I find that clamshells are a good exercise if we've just had hip surgery or a major hip trauma, something where we don't have the strength in the moment to be able to lift our entire leg on our own. But in my mind, functionally, we have to be able to lift our whole body weight out of a chair, or go up and down stairs, or off the toilet, or go to the gym, and we're adding weight to that. We're doing squats, we're doing deadlifts, we're doing whatever. And if we can't lift our whole leg, then what are we doing? So this exercise, if you find the exercise that I'm giving now is too hard, then by all means do a clamshell for a few weeks first and then try to progress to this one. But at some point, I feel like everyone who has been given a clamshell and may have been doing them for ages or whatever should work on progressing towards this version, which I call the broken Jane Fonda, in order to get themselves as functional at their day-to-day level as possible. And I'm gonna give a couple of different versions of the broken Jane Fonda, depending on what you're gonna be using it for. But essentially the idea is you're gonna set yourself up on the floor, like so, okay? So I am fully lying on the floor. The more of my body that's resting on the floor, the easier it is for my brain to focus on using my glutes. And then if we were to do a standard clamshell, we would be starting in this position where my heels are in line with my hips, which are in line with my shoulders. And a standard clamshell would be to lift my leg up like so, okay? Now, like I said, if we want to be functional human beings, lifting the leg like so should only be a start point. We should look to progress to being able to lift the whole leg in total. The other reason why I'm not a huge fan of clamshells is because quite often, if the glutes aren't working, the muscle that compensates to perform this external rotation out this way is a muscle called the TFL, or the tensor fascia lata. The tensor fascia lata performs external rotation. The glute med and min also help with external rotation, but they also abduct the leg up this way, okay? If we already have a motor pattern that biases or uses the TFL instead of our glutes, then sitting here and doing more external rotation, if our brain doesn't recognize to use the glutes instead of the TFL, which is the reason the person is doing the exercise in the first place, then how are we expecting the brain to use the glutes instead of the TFL in this position? Okay, we're actually favoring the use of the TFL in this position. And so we could inadvertently, we have all the best intentions to strengthen the glutes, but we could inadvertently be strengthening the compensation that's causing our problem in the first place. I hope you follow with that. Regardless, the first point still applies. If we've started with clamshells and that's gotten pretty easy, if we want to be functional in terms of lifting our whole body weight out of a chair, or going up and down stairs, or doing lunges, or then adding weight through squats or deadlifts or what have you, we want to be able to lift the whole leg. So this is how I change up the exercise. The bottom leg can stay in the exact same position. Me lying on the floor, exact same position. What I change is that I straighten the leg out but more importantly, I twist the knee down to the floor, okay? And then from here, and by twisting the knee down to the floor, I am deactivating this tensor fascia lata, okay? So bringing the tensor fascia lata out of the mix, I can now focus on squeezing my glute, which is right here on the hip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the leg as high as possible without my knee twisting up or without kind of doing a side crunch through my abs, okay? So I wanna make sure my abs stay in the same position, and I'm just lifting my leg up like so, squeezing the muscle that's working here, okay? Now, that's version number 1, okay? We can start out with 3 sets of 8 to 10 of this. You'll actually be surprised. Even if you're not using this as rehab and you're using this as an activation, you will probably be surprised by how much this is going to make your glute burn right here. Now, one thing that I suggest to patients, depending on what they're using the exercise for, is let's say they're warming up for a squat or deadlifts or lunges, or they have pain doing squats, deadlifts, lunges, rowing, anything lower body. Then what I recommend is they do a set of 10 here, and then bring their leg kind of midway or equal with the bent leg on the bottom, and do a set of 10 here. Everything else is the same. The knee is twisted down to the floor, and I'm working on squeezing the glutes, only now it's the angle of pull, or the line of pull, is a little bit further back across the hip. And I'm gonna do a set of 10 here, and then I'm gonna come up this way and do a set of 10 here. Everything else is exactly the same. Knee is down, and I lift the leg as far as I can, where I'm only feeling this muscle working. Now, obviously the more I flex my leg forward, since the tensor fascia lata also does hip flexion, you will still engage it a bit. You'll also engage your psoas a little bit the more you bring your leg forward. But once you get your knee in that twisted, once you twist your knee down and you lift your leg up, the muscle that you should be feeling working should be anywhere from here back. So that's what you're looking for. If you don't want to change the angle that you're strengthening the glute at, you can stay at any one angle, or if you find that there's one angle that's just particularly weaker than the other, you can stay and do 3 sets of 10 there. You can mix it up, you can do whatever you want. But me personally, I particularly like this 1 set of 10 at each position, because then that's training my glute to work throughout the range of a squat. And when I say that, I mean throughout the range of a lunge, throughout the range of a row, throughout the range of going up and down the stairs. So it's the most versatile, but like I said, use it however you want. 3 sets of 10, start off with that. If your 3 sets of 10 get easy, let's say you're using this for activation overall for your training, if 3 sets of 10 get easy, you can either slow down the movement and kind of make it tempo where you do slow up and slow down, or you can just increase the reps and do sets of 15 or do sets of 20. Either way, what you're looking for is kind of like a light burn in that muscle, which would indicate that you've used it. It should feel tired afterwards. But then when you go to do a squat or you go to do a lunge, now you're actually going to feel those muscles working while you're doing the exercise, and then you're going to get that much more out of your lunges, squats, deadlifts, whatever. Or if you're using it because we've got injured hips, knees, ankles, or low back, and a trainer or a physio has suggested working on your glute med or your glute min, that is my favorite exercise to do, and I find that it really helps move the needle for a lot of patients in terms of getting them from, being kind of like functional but still have a bit of pain doing their activities, to all of a sudden really being able to do their day-to-day and then some. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below or send me a DM. Have a great day.